video is going to be talking about how I challenged myself to draw every day for 31 days. Basically, every day for the month of October. So if you are following any art accounts or communities on Instagram or any social media platforms, you might have heard of the popular art challenge called Inktober. And basically, what you have to do is every year, they will release a prompt list with 31 prompts for the month of October, and you have to make a drawing using ink and then post it up on Instagram. So I found another version of this challenge posted by furrylittlepeach on Instagram. You might have seen her work before. It's super quirky, super colorful, super fun. And I was definitely more keen to take up the peachtober challenge, which is her version of Inktober, because you are not limited to any medium, whereas in Inktober, as the name suggests, you can only use ink. That was basically how I challenged myself to draw every day for the month of October. So when I first saw the creative prompt list for Inktober, I was already kind of excited. I think a lot of the words are definitely very cute, very general. Some can be interpreted in different ways. So it was really exciting to not only think about what I would create, but also think about what other creators would come up with based on these prompts. So I think that these challenges are actually super fun regardless of whatever medium you use to create art. And I think when so many other people are doing it as well, you definitely feel a little bit more accountable. You know, when you post on social media that you are taking part in a challenge, you kind of want to make sure that you see it through to the end. And if you're someone who does art very casually, or if you find yourself being in a little bit of a creative rut, I think these challenges are really great because you don't really have to think actively about what you're going to draw. When you're committed to doing a challenge, you know every day that there's going to be a prompt waiting for you, and somehow or another you're going to be able to put the pen to paper or whatever medium you choose and push out a piece of art. So there was definitely a bit of a learning curve during this challenge. If you look at my starting pieces and my ending pieces, you will find that the style has definitely changed quite a bit. As a very amateur art hobbyist, I find it very difficult to find a solid sense of style. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think as a small creator, it's actually great because you can experiment with any kind of style you want and you're not limiting yourself. But as you can see at the start of Peachtober, I was doing a lot of more detailed drawings, basically drawings that I would do if I were actually drawing on paper. These were drawings that didn't involve much color. It was just on a beige background with like a charcoal or pencil drawing effect that I used on Procreate. And basically after the first 3 days, I thought that this was very unsustainable because I was spending so long on each drawing. I just knew that, number one, I don't think it came across very effectively on Instagram because when I was putting in so many details, and I guess I'm just not very good with like the spacing in my drawings, I find that a lot of the drawing kind of gets muddled or diluted on an Instagram feed. So I started to stray away from it, even though I still really like how these turned out. Maybe they would be cute for like book illustrations, but not for Instagram. So after I figured that out, I started to look at other creators and the kind of drawings they were making. A lot of the art that I was seeing kind of resembled like children's book illustrations. So very colorful, very pleasant to look at. It kind of gives that gouache or color pencil or crayon kind of effect. So that was definitely something I started to look into. Also throughout the challenge, I definitely went back and forth between choosing colored pieces and black and white pieces. So on days when I didn't want to think too much about the color scheme, I just stuck to a very monochromatic color scheme, played with shades of black to create shadows and dimension, and that was quite fun. I find that with colors, even though it is more fun, I struggle to find very like cohesive color pairings. I guess it's because I don't do art long enough and I don't have any like formal art education, so maybe I'm just not well versed enough with like color wheels and color patterns. But thankfully on Procreate, even after you put down a color, it is still possible for you to change the hues and saturations and the brightness. So that definitely helps a lot, especially if you're starting out as a beginner. So towards the end of the challenge, I was definitely looking for ways to speed up the process of creating each piece while still having the final product look very quirky and still quite refined. So I started experimenting with the selection tool on Procreate, and I'll insert a video here on how you use it. But basically you can select an empty space on the screen, and then when you color in with a brush, it will only fill up that area. So this is something I never really did much before, only to color in pencil lines on another layer. So having it without the lines on top was definitely a new style for me, but I love the way these turn out, especially when you have the colored backgrounds as well. I think these definitely look more polished, and it seems like something you'd be able to find on a sticker or a tote bag or something like that. So to sum this video up, I would like to talk about what I learned from this challenge. The first thing is that I think it is always great to challenge yourself, especially if you have been in a rut or if you're just not as committed to drawing. I think with art and basically any other skill, even in sports or music, it always helps to get some practice, especially if you're quite an all or nothing person. I'm someone who can go months without doing art, and then suddenly I will get really into it and I can paint for hours and hours, and then the cycle just repeats. And I feel like doing an art challenge really forces you to sit down just for a short time every day and cultivate this habit of creating art. And it just goes to show that if you have an idea that just pops into your head, all it takes for you is to just sit down for 30 minutes and you would still be able to create a really cute piece of art even within a short time. I also think it's important to not put too much pressure on yourself when you are doing this project. I think it is okay to slip out once in a while. There were a few days where I was a little bit late, or I combined 2 drawings into one on one occasion because I was really busy, and that's completely fine. I think you have to remember that the goal of the challenge is just to instill a healthy habit and not to punish yourself. So please don't put too much pressure on yourself in that regard. But also in terms of style and the way you're drawing, I think during the challenge, I definitely found myself trying to draw in a way I thought other people would really like, and that to me is incorporating really cute characters or really bright colors. And sometimes it was hard to differentiate whether that was something I really wanted to draw, or is that something I just thought would get more likes on Instagram. Then again, because I'm such a small creator, I have very little followers on my Instagram, so maybe that didn't affect me too much, but don't let that get to you. I think that you should just be creating for the sake of creating. So don't be too caught up on the numbers or if people like your work, because you are just trying to create a healthy habit for yourself. So something really interesting that happened was that during this challenge, I also was drawing other pieces outside of the prompt list, and I wasn't really expecting this because I thought I would be very fatigued by the notion of having to draw something every single day. But I was actually still quite excited to draw out some of my own ideas, and I'll put them in here. So this just goes to show that the more you do something, the more your brain instinctively craves it a little bit more. So definitely, if you're in a rut, I totally recommend this. I think when you do this as a hobby, sometimes there is the pressure to always have to get better and make sure that the next piece is better than the last. And sometimes I find that that takes away from the fun of it all. So I think the most important lesson is that at the end of the day, you should still be having fun with your work. I don't do art as my full-time job, and I kind of want this to still be a fun hobby and passion that I have. So definitely don't let anyone take that away from you, and I hope that you enjoy creating regardless of whatever medium you choose. So we've come to the end of the video. Let me know if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!